Get you in!
If you let me do the fusion, I can guarantee you'll be able to walk again.
Do you wish you could live even after death? It sounds impossible, but these animals do exactly that. Welcome back. You're about to see some animals that are literally immortal. They can live without body parts, come back to life, and even live after death. Number 1, the octopus. A severed octopus arm still wriggles, just as it would if it was still attached where it belonged. But how? A dead octopus is arms. All 8 of them are just as active long after the octopus has gotten to the other side. What's weirder is that severed arms can still feel pain when pinched, even without a brain. What even is this death-defying behavior? Well, most animals have one brain. That's the mastermind of the rest of their bodies. Octopi have a curious design in octopuses. Actual brain. The one in its head only has 1/3 of the total neurons in its body. The other 2/3 there in its arms. Each one of its arms has around 400,000 neurons. Those suckers you see, each has 10,000 neurons. It can take at least an hour for all these neurons to finally shut down after the octopus is dead or the arm's been severed. All 8 of its arms literally have a life of their own. Now you know why well-cooked octopus arms still wriggle in the plate, because they didn't exactly die along with the octopus itself. Number 2, salamanders. Salamanders are amazing because they can regenerate body parts. If you chop off your finger, it won't grow back. But if a salamander loses a finger, it will grow back in no time. Furthermore, if you chop some of their heart or spinal cord, it will regenerate. And amazingly, if its leg is bitten off by a predator, that will also grow back. Because of this, many say salamanders are immortal. The regrown parts of salamanders can actually function even better than the original parts, meaning that what doesn't kill them literally does make them stronger. To make things even more amazing, some of their regeneration proteins are actually found in humans, meaning that maybe one day we could also regenerate our fingers or limbs. Salamanders could be the key to human regeneration. Number 3, wood frog. Here's another thing that humanity would love to learn because being cold really sucks. Shivering, the numbness, the desperation to be warm. The list just goes on. But for wood, frogs, they literally bounce back after they freeze solid. Yes, these frogs live in areas where the temperature can get real low, and as a result, they overcome this by letting the cold actually take them, but not kill them. A chain of events occurs to protect the freezing frog minutes after ice begins to form on their skin. A wood frog's liver starts converting sugars stored as glycogen into glucose. This sugar is released from the liver and carried through the bloodstream to every tissue, where it then helps to keep cells from completely dehydrating and shrinking. As the wood frog is freezing, its heart continues, pumping the protective glucose around its body. But the frog's heart slows and eventually stops. All other organs stop functioning, and by all rights it should be dead. However, it's not. It is, in fact, still alive. The only thing that's going to kill it is if the temperature drops too low, because the body can only endure so much cold, or an outside party kills it while it's frozen. But then what happens when the warm weather returns? Well, that's when it goes into a reboot and repairs its body organ by organ until it hops around like nothing happened before. It's not only insane, but it's actually a superpower. It basically dies so that it can live later on. That's next level. In fact, many scientists are trying to mimic this superpower as well because of its potential in humans. But for now, the wood frogs have this ability and will just have to endure the cold without it. Number 4, flies. Flies don't seem to take decapitation too seriously. In fact, sometimes flies accidentally twist their own heads off and continue to stay alive, as with a severed head in a walk, headless, and even flying a chaotic, directionless manner. This is also because flies don't need its head to breathe. The rows of holes along their abdomen do the job instead, so it isn't the oxygen shortage that kills the headless fly, but starvation. But surviving decapitation isn't the only magic flies can endure. Flies have another superpower to boast if they can survive freezing temperatures. How fly? Dying. First, these flies enter a hibernation-like state where their bodies freeze but don't die. It's like natural cryogenic freezing. What keeps their cells from freezing, expanding, and rupturing is a special protein called the aquaporin protein. This protein pushes the water out of the gallfly cells before it has time to freeze. When the temperature gets suitable again, their bodies thaw and they spend the summer as if nothing ever happened. Number 5, snakes. Snakes are scary on their own, but did you know there's some snakes which can kill you even with their head chopped off? Some people get scared when they see a venomous snake. They believe chopping its head off will neutralize the snake, but they couldn't be more wrong. A snake's head contains its fangs and deadly poisonous wax. Its brain doesn't need its body to bite you, meaning that you could be bitten by a headless, venomous snake. Snakes can live with their heads chopped off for hours, so be very careful of these zombie snakes. The ocean quahog. The ocean clay hog is an amazing species of clam. It can be found in the northern Atlantic Ocean. The amazing thing about these animals is they're basically immortal. A few years back, researchers in Iceland killed one of things, and when they studied it, they realized it was 507 years old. They can live so long because of their unique cell membranes. Unlike most animals, ocean quahog cell membranes don't deteriorate over time, allowing them to live for hundreds of years. Number 6. Turtles. The next one is more about making sure the animal is dead rather than fully moving around dying. Because when you think about it, a turtle is one of the most enduring animals in the world. Their shells are powerful and can withstand predators. And if you get the right species of turtle or tortoise, they can easily outlive humans. And equally as important, they move so slow that you sometimes don't even know what they're doing or not doing. So thus trying to find out whether or not a turtle is dead is actually difficult. And even when they are dead, they can still move. The main reason behind turtles being able to keep their body parts moving after death is the way that they're built. It's a combination of their slow metabolic rate, high concentration of ions, and a heart that just keeps on beating without any signals from the brain. It's very freaky and very much like a turtle carrying on when it doesn't need to anymore. Turtles are known for their slow-paced life and extended mortality that could span up 2 centuries. However, with deforestation and concrete jungles being expanded, the chance for a wild turtle to stay alive for years has been gradually decreasing. So making sure that your turtle is dead before you do anything with it is actually vital, especially since turtles and other similar species are known to do an act called brumotion, where they very much appear dead but are very much still alive. One of the easiest ways to tell if your turtle is dead is to stimulate or even provoke it. Poke it constantly, pinch its tail and see how it reacts, or if it reacts at all. Even in hibernation or brumotion, they'll awaken when the right stimuli is there. Or we could just wait and see if it decomposes. You know, the smell is going to give it away. Number 7. Lungfish. There are many animals in the world today that are known as living fossils, and these are beings that have outlived everything from prehistoric times. Despite being there themselves, it's more than just having a survival instinct that's being able to endure extinction-level events. And for the lungfish, they do this with an ability called starvation. Now, this is a variation on hibernation where the lungfish will actually bury itself in the ground and use a special mucus cocoon to protect itself when it goes dormant, and when it does go dormant, it can survive in that cocoon for quite a long time. It'll even eat its own muscle tissues in order to get the nutrients that it needs to endure for however long it has to go. This creature has lived on the earth for an estimated 400 million years, and death is not something that just happens to the lungfish. Number 8. Alligators. Alligators live in water, but how do they survive in the winter when water freezes? Well, at just the right moment, when the water's about to freeze, they stick their snouts out into the air. The alligators are then literally frozen in time. They're basically dead birds. This is actually a process called brumotion. It's similar to hibernation, but for reptiles instead of mammals, the alligators are frozen solid birds. When the temperature heats up, these frozen alligators come back to life. These alligators are sometimes frozen like this for many days, weeks, or even months. But because they put their noses out of the lake, they survive all this time. So next time you're ice skating, make sure not to wake up any alligators from Broom Nation. They may be frozen, but they're still deadly. Number 9. Chickens. You may have heard the phrase running around like a headless chicken. Well, that's not just a turn of phrase. It's reality. Chickens can actually live without their hands, sometimes for a surprisingly long time. The record for the longest living headless chicken is 18 months. The record was set by a chicken named Mike in Colorado, USA. But how do chickens live without hands? Well, chickens don't need a head to live. Their central nervous system is very different from us humans. So if you chop the top part of a chicken's head off, it will only remove some of the brain. The rest of the brain, which is used for movement, will still be okay. And that's how they're able to run around and live without a head. Number 10. Wolf eel. The wolf eel is one of many creatures out there in the world right now who is struggling to survive, mainly because mankind and vicious predators keep chipping away at their numbers, whether it be through natural courses or getting caught in fishermen's nets. It's hurting the population on a grand scale. So how is it that they aren't all dead yet? Well, part of it is because of conservation efforts, of which we should all be grateful. The other aspect is that they do spawn a lot of eggs. A single female wolf will create 10,000 eggs in a mating season. Just one wolf eel does that alone. Now, sure, many of them get eaten up by predators, but having 1 or 2 or even 10 of them is enough to create a whole population if they're fortunate enough. The population of the wolf eels are stable now, and hopefully, it stays that way for the future. Number 11. Lobsters. Now, this is probably going to make you hungry. And with this one, I'm sorry. Well, mostly you might have heard the rumor that lobsters are immortal to the best of scientific knowledge. That's not actually the case. However, they are one of the select group of animals in the world right now that can outgrow just about everyone else. If left alone, you see, lobsters have a special trait via molting. They'll ditch parts of their shell and grow a new one because they just keep on growing. Their molting phase never passes until they die. That means they're going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing until their lives come to an end. Hence why some thought that they were immortal because they could just grow forever, right? Well, not exactly. However, they can reach up to 100 years in age, and it's kind of hard to tell if that's the high point of their lifespan or just what we can calculate on our own. Number 12, bees. The last one is a public service announcement for all of you. Bees are vital to our world's biological survival, but they can still very much be annoying and sting you and whatnot. In fact, they can even do all that after death, because you might recall that certain bee species die after they do sting you. Not all do, but many can. And you might come across a dead bee and think that it's safe to pick it up, because clearly it's not going to hurt you, except that bees' actions are not controlled by the bee's brain, but rather by involuntary impulses. And so if you do pick up a dead bee that still has its stinger, you still have the chance of being stung. So the smart thing to do, just don't touch it. And that's all from the realm of animals that have somehow escaped certain death. Were you weirded out by some of these stories that I shared with you today? And which of them did you find the most disturbing? Are there others that should be on this list? And have you ever come back after death? Let me know all about it in the comments section down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.